All right. So it is recording now. So good afternoon, Jonas. My name is Claudio. I'm calling you from Washington, D.C. From the studio in Fairfax City. We're very humble and grateful that Jonas Munk accepted our invitation to our show. Jonas, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
So, same here, man. So tell me, with everything that is going on in the world with the pandemic and people are getting the vaccine, people they don't want to get the vaccine, and you guys cannot tour. How is this affecting your creativity and your sanity, your life, all that kind of
For me, it's not been so different than usual, actually, because I'm a musician, but I don't spend a lot of time touring. I've never done that. I'm maybe on a good year, I'm playing maybe 7 or 8 shows with my projects. So, and last year I still got to play a few, like in August and September. So it's not been that different. And of course, normally I always spend most of my time here in the studio anyway. So maybe I've been spending slightly more time in the studio in the past year, but it's not so different. I think it's been very productive. I've really been working on lots of new music in the
yeah.
last 12, 15 months.
How often do you put a new album, a new CD?
Well, I have quite a bit of different projects because one thing is all the electronic stuff that I'm doing solo and with Ulrich, like the more ambient orientated stuff. But actually, I also spend a lot of my time working with like rock music and improvised music. And down here in my studio, I'm sometimes acting as a sort of recording engineer as well, and producing and mixing. So I'm always busy with something, and not just my own electronic music, but I always have like lots of different projects. I think like in the last year, I've been like maybe a year and a half, I put out a lot of music, but it always goes quite a while back. Like the stuff that I'm working on, I'm usually working on that for like 2 or 3 or maybe even 4 years before it's released. So sometimes a lot of stuff has accumulated, and I'm releasing like several albums in 1 year. Like I think the past year has been pretty busy for me. That doesn't mean that I'm that busy all the time. It's just that sometimes that's the way things are accumulating. So usually it takes quite a long while to work on a record. And this new one with Ulrich that just came out like 3 weeks ago, I mean, we worked on that for 4 years almost.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you guys went back and redo the stuff, redo it again, change some parts. I mean, it takes a while to remix it and edit it. And
Ulrich did a lot of remixing. That took a while. And of course, like I'm saying, we're working on it for 4 years. We're not working like intensely on it because there's a lot of space between the sessions. We might have one session in London in January, and it might take 6 months until the next session. So there's always a lot of space in between.
I got you. So going back to the beginning, were you born like in a musical family? And how old were you when you began playing either keyboards or piano or guitar?
I was probably around, I would say 8, maybe 7. I can't remember exactly. And it's kind of a weird story because actually I do have some musicians in my family. Both of my uncles on either side are musicians and professional at that. And I can't remember why, but at some point, like for a Christmas gift or something, my parents, they got me this sampler, like in sonic sampler, very, very complicated instrument, because I think one of my uncles sort of had it lying around and he wasn't using it. So they thought, nah, maybe this could be a nice present for this kid. And I just couldn't figure it out. I think it was one of those Ensoniq Mirage samplers that a lot of people are still using. a quite complicated instrument. So I was like messing around with it, but I couldn't like use it for anything. I didn't think it was very funny. So we asked my uncle, like, can we change this for something else, like a drum kit or something? Yeah, and he said, yeah. And he gave me a drum kit instead, like a really old jazz kit, like from the 60s. And I started playing drums. So I was playing drums like quite a lot from the age of 8 to 12 or something like that, maybe 13. And eventually I picked up a guitar as well. And that sort of became my main thing for a lot of years. And when I was around like 18 or so, I got a synthesizer. I think that was like because I had a band and we were always like rehearsing in the basement, and one of my neighbors, he had like an old synthesizer lying around. I still have that.
Oh wow.
Poly 800.
Yeah, gotcha.
And there was something like wrong with the battery or something, and he just asked me like, can you use this for anything? If you want it, it's yours. And that was around the same time that I sort of got into like really weird music. I was into Tortoise and sort of discovering ambient music and krautrock and stuff like that. So this one was like really, that was like life changing back then, and that put me on the path of doing electronic music, which has been a big part of my life ever since, like for the past 20 years.
Yeah, that equipment still works, or you don't use it anymore? Well, you have very nice gear to your right there, so.
Yeah, it totally works, and I really love it still. It's so unique sounding, and I think it's like one of those synthesizers that are really hard to emulate with software, because it just sounds so weird. It sounds so strange, like the effects section with the delay and the chorus and flanging effects. It's just so like 80s, like VHS video machine sounding. It's totally unique. So I still use it. I love it.
Sure. So when you were 18, what kind of music were you listening to? Tangerine Dream, Brian Eno, all kind of stuff?
Sort of like, yeah, that came when I got into electronic music. Like that was like 20 years ago, like in 98 and 99. Like discovering Tortoise was a really big thing. I remember seeing them at Roskilde Festival. That's like the big Scandinavian rock festival here that takes place each summer. And I saw Tortoise in 98, I'm pretty sure. And that sort of like blew my mind and opened me up to all these new styles, because at that point they had so many styles in the sound they were doing. They had like classical minimalism, krautrock, electronica, ambient, and like vintage soundtracks and everything. So when you got into Tortoise at that point, it really led you in multiple directions. So that was like a really, really big eye opener for me, and that's what got me into electronic music, and yeah, old as well as new electronic music.
Were you buying at the time vinyl? Did you or listen to the radio? How you consume music at the time? CDs?
Oh yeah, everything. I've been buying. I used to buy vinyl and CDs. In my teens, and I still do that. I still love CDs and I still love vinyl. And but radio was pretty good back then. It's not like that anymore. But like I remember in the 90s, like even like the really big national radio station in Denmark, maybe they would play like kind of like boring mainstream stuff throughout the day, but then at night they would air really interesting stuff. It's not like that today at all anymore. I think something got lost there, but they used to have like just really strange music. Like you would turn on the radio at 9 o'clock in the evening, and there would be like an interview with Marcus Pop from Oval, or something like really avant-garde stuff like that. That was quite normal. Or maybe there would be like a concert from one of the festivals. I remember like you could tune in and they would play something that was recorded at Roskilde Festival in the summer, like a Mogwai concert, or just whatever. There was so much more like experimental stuff all the time. And we also had, we still have that a local music library that was really good, because they had like a huge collection of both CD and vinyl, and you'd be able to find all that stuff. And this was before the internet really was a big thing in regards to music. So let's say you read something about Can or Tangerine Dream, I wouldn't really be able to get that in a local record store unless I was super lucky. But I could definitely find the whole catalogs in the music library. So that was like a really important resource as well, just like digging through new and old, really weird stuff. And that was like everything, you know, ambient music, new age music, electronica, post-rock, whatever, classical minimalism as well.
Yeah. And then you will to get access, you will go to a place, they will send you in the mail, they just that you can listen, because that was before the internet, right? Yeah.
No, they're small. You'd go and you could find like CD and vinyl at the place. So
And
they
then
had a huge collection. You could take it home for like a week or two, or probably a month. No.
wow. So you were consuming a lot of stuff. What was the name of the first band that you were participating in?
Oh, actually, you know, it's some of the same guys that I'm still playing with today. I have a sort of like a psychedelic rock band called Kausasui. Maybe, I don't know if you heard of it. It's like instrumental psychedelic rock. But I actually played with some of those guys, like even back in when I was a kid. Like my good friend Jess Carr. We used to jam in my parents' basement when I was like 9 or 10. I'd be playing drums and he'd be playing keyboards and stuff like that. I can't remember the name that we had like initially, but I've been playing with some of those guys like for 25 years now.
Yeah.
Probably more. So.
And then out of all of them, are you the only one who became a professional musician, or the other guys do it for fun?
Oh, they do it for fun, but you know, some of them are quite productive. Like Jacob Scott, maybe you know him. He's a really good layout and design artist. He's doing a lot of the Azura Vista sleeves, and he's doing all the El Paraiso record sleeves and stuff like that. He's really gifted, like visually, but he's also doing lots of music projects, like in his own name. And he used to do another project called Syntax. Maybe you've heard of that.
Yeah.
So he's really productive as well.
I got you. Wow, that's pretty
good. And Rasmus as well, like another guy that is in the band, and one of those guys that I've been playing with for 25 years almost. He used to be quite active, and he's still doing something once in a while. He has a few records out under the name Aerosol. So maybe you heard of that. He's done at least 3 albums, like really, really, really good stuff, like very ambient electronic. So he's not doing it for a living, but he's still like pretty productive.
Gotcha. So music is your main thing, your main source of income, right? You don't have another job, or you teaching or any stuff.
No. I'm a musician.
No. Have you done any live streaming during the pandemic, or it wouldn't work for kind of?
Oh, no. I wouldn't know how to do it actually. And
yeah.
I just spent my time like producing stuff instead. To me, that's more interesting.
Yeah. Well, some people, some musicians, they don't release that many records, so they saw live streaming as a sort of income, right, to make money during the pandemic, because they couldn't tour. Or other people that I have talked to, they teach part-time in a school, in the neighborhood, or private classes, and then to have some money coming in, and the rest they try to do live streaming.
Yeah, I think it's really great. I haven't seen any of those, like, but I think it's a really great option. And yeah, as you say, musicians, they have to find alternative incomes these days.
Yeah, Yeah.
But it's kind of crazy. Like even like, you know, pretty big musicians, they have to, you know, get a job in a supermarket or something at the moment because they can't tour at all. And you know, it's only very few musicians who make enough on streaming and vinyl sales to actually make a living of that. So you would have to sell a shitload of vinyl to make a
Yeah.
living.
Yeah, you wanted to sell a lot, well, you know, for to be, let's say for Spotify, right?
Yeah,
You need to have a lot of hits to, you know, a millions to get, you know, $10 a month, right?
yeah,
But in Bandcamp, you guys get paid very decent money. I think the Bandcamp take only 10% and the artists make the other 90. So
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
some people do okay with that, you know.
Yeah, that's fine.
You know, plus they have and during the pandemic, you guys, I know I don't know if in Denmark they do it, but in Norway, because I have talked to different musicians from Norway, they receive a stipend from the government because they couldn't do the job. Right? They couldn't play, they couldn't go out, so they got a little bit of money during the pandemic time, so they can
Yeah,
survive.
it's the same here, and I'm not sure if it actually worked. Like, but you could apply for it, and let's say if you're like a touring musician, you could apply for it. I'm not sure that Danish musicians have gotten anything yet. I think there was some kind of problem in that whole process. Personally, I haven't applied for it because I'm actually doing pretty well. You know, just releasing albums and you know, getting royalties from streaming and whatever. But I think like there's definitely something you can apply for here if you're a musician. So whether it actually works or how well it works, I don't know, not yet. But
Doing all right. You're doing just yeah. You know that's yeah because you don't. In your case, you told me you don't tour much. More of your stuff. You know recorded release. You know.
exactly, yeah. And like I said, I also do other stuff. Like I do a bit of mastering down here. I do mixing jobs as well, and you know, there's always like the odd thing happening. Like there's a TV show using one of your tracks in a like as background music or whatever, and that, you know, that pays a bit of money as well. So for me personally, I haven't been so affected by the whole lockdown situation as many others, thankfully.
Is it in your country with respect to the COVID? It's recommended. Well, no mandatory, but they couldn't mandate that. But it's mandatory or recommended that people get the vaccine, or some people they don't want to do it. They don't believe in it, or
Oh, I mean, you can freely choose if you want the vaccine or not. And as far as I know, we don't have a lot of these like anti-vaccine people here in Denmark. I'm sure there's some, but it's not something I've heard a lot about. So I don't think it's like a really important issue,
Mm.
at least not yet. So we'll see. We're still a little bit behind with the vaccines in Denmark for some reason. You know, usually Denmark is so progressive and all, but you know, I think all my American and UK friends, they've gotten the vaccine already, but I
Oh
think
yeah, like 3 months ago. Yeah.
yeah. But I think you know, people my age, we're set to get it in July, August, maybe. I think that's the current plan. And there was also like there was a thing with two of the vaccines, like the Johnson and Johnson and the AstraZeneca vaccines. They were taken out of the program because of the risk of blood clots or whatever. I think Denmark was a little bit more conservative in that regard than a lot of other countries. I know they're still using them in Germany at least, and many other places, but I think Denmark sort of didn't want to take that risk and would rather like stretch out the whole program a few more months.
Okay, and go with the other one. Yeah, I got mine about 2 months ago, 2.5 months ago,
Wow.
and I'm okay. You know, I'm going to the office 3 days a week, and the other 2 days I work from home. I'm doing all right.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, but I can. Hopefully, everybody will take the vaccine here because they will. I haven't seen a concert in a year, man, and I want to see some artists. For me, live music and talking to people is very, very important. You know, I buy a lot of CD. I know I have a lot of vinyl, like you can
Yeah.
see in the back, and I have 3 floors. But I gotta see bands, man. I gotta see, you know, people perform.
Well, hopefully soon. Do you know what's the status in the US, like
Yeah,
with
they
summer
will.
festivals?
Yeah,
Is that going to
they
happen?
will. They're opening up in. I think some small theater will start opening now in June, July, and then festival and big venues um, August, at the end of August, September. Because if September, for example, I have ticket to see New Order with the Pet Shop Boys.
Yeah.
They're Hall and Oates, Dead Can Dance, and King Crimson is going to be coming here in the fall as well.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So yeah,
Fingers crossed for that one.
yeah.
Yeah.
I hope. Yeah, I like a wide range of music, Jonas. I mean, I from electronic music, for like I told before, right? From your music, Tangerine Dream, Brian Eno, but I like pop, right? So Peter Gabriel, Genesis, Pink Floyd, Depeche Mode, Pat Benatar, Blondie, and et cetera, et cetera. I have a wide range, you know.
Oh yeah, me too. And Ulrich as well, definitely. I
Ulrich,
mean,
he's very good. Yeah, he's very good.
he's really into like a wide range of music, not just like really esoteric electronic stuff. He's really into a lot of music as well. Uh,
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully we'll have him on the show, man. So I was able to listen to some of your album yesterday, and then and during the weekend when I was preparing for the interview, the Minimum Resistance, Egg Fragment of an Illusion, Passage, among many others. That's very good stuff, man.
oh, thanks.
Yeah. So I have 4 particular song that I really like, and if you can elaborate how that composition came together and that.
Sure, sure. I'll try.
One is called I don't know how you pronounce it, Shiroko.
Oh yeah, that's an old one.
Yeah, it's
Actually.
very good, man.
Oh, thanks. I, that's actually the very first song me and Ulrich produced together.
Yeah,
Um, and that's the first song we did for the first album when I first came down to that was back like 15 years ago when Ulrich he was living in Kiel in northern Germany. It's not so far from here in Odense where I live. I could, I borrowed my parents' car and I drove down to his studio, and it took like 3 hours. Now Ulrich he's been living in the UK for the past like 13 years or so, so it's not so easy anymore. But that's the first track we did down there, and we didn't really have anything planned out. I just remember like I brought my guitar and he asked me to play some stuff, and I would just like play some chords, and in that situation Ulrich was sort of the producer. So I think that track is almost like a Jonas Munk track produced by Ulrich, because it was sort of written by me and just messing around with guitars, and Ulrich he would like produce those really nice beats and add synthesizers and stuff like that. For me that was really exciting back then, because I did have a few things like at home, that I did have like a sampler and a couple of synthesizers and stuff like that. But coming down to Ulrich's studio at that point, which was already like 15 years ago, that was a really nice place, like vintage synthesizers and all these like vintage outboard rack units, and even had like a piano in one of the rooms, and there was just like so much good stuff. And also like Ulrich's expertise was like so far ahead of mine at that point. I had released a couple of albums, but I still wasn't like, I wouldn't call myself a producer back then. I didn't really know how to make stuff sound good and stuff like that. But Ulrich already back then, he really knew his way around of like making stuff sound nice and big and wide and interesting. So that was, I mean, for me, that track is quite special because it still takes me back to that whole initial experience of coming down to Kiel and producing music.
How you end up working with him? How you met him? I mean, how you guys know each other?
Yeah, I had a project back then called Manual, and I put out a few records on more
Yep.
music in Berlin. And Ulrich was releasing on City Center offices, and those two labels were kind of related. They were sort of using the same distribution and like sharing some of the artists, and they both had a headquarter in Berlin. So back then everybody kind of got to know everybody because you'd be touring or meeting at a festival or hanging out in Berlin or something like that. So yeah, you just got to know everybody, and I can't remember why we started working together. I think I knew Ulrich liked one of my albums, and I was like really in love with his, especially his first album on City Center offices. So I think there was, a bit of mutual admiration, and we never planned to release like 3 albums. I
Yeah.
think the first thing we discussed back then was like, oh, maybe you should come down to Kiel and we can work on a few tracks and maybe do an EP or something like that.
Yeah.
But we just continued working. Like once we did 2 tracks back in 2005 in Ulrich's studio in Kiel. The following year he came to Denmark and he played a festival here, and we also worked on a few tracks, and then he moved to London the following year and I came over and we did another 2 tracks, and we just kept working and we just really liked it. So yeah, we've been doing that like on and off ever since. Like not all the time, but once every year or twice every year, I'm heading over to his studio in London and we spend a week or so just working on stuff, and it's really enjoyable and we both like the results a lot.
Yeah. Let me know when you guys get together. Maybe I will fly in and meet the 2 of you too, man, for dinner. I
Oh,
will buy you to dinner, man.
that would be great.
Yeah. There are so many, believe it. I don't know why, but well, I think I know why, because they're kind of electronic music, was kind of boring. I don't know, boring, but it's related with Berlin. There are so many people in Berlin that play electronic music, as if the kids growing up in Berlin, the German kids, they play soccer and they do electronic music. I don't know.
Yeah.
There are so many good musicians. I have interviewed a lot of people from Germany, the old people in the 60s and 70s, and, from Ashra Temple and Manuel Goshin and then Michael Honig and Tangerine Dream and so on and so forth. There are so many great
Yeah.
electronic music coming out of Berlin, man.
I never lived there. Ulrich, he lived there for 10 years or so. So maybe he's got a much more like in-depth knowledge of the city and stuff like that. But your perspective is the one that I really share as well. I have a totally romantic relationship with Berlin, and I still go to Berlin at least once a year,
Yeah.
just to hang out and just go to record shops and take the family there, and because it's such a great place. And like you say, it has the whole history. I mean, not only in the 70s and 80s, but also when I started hanging out in Berlin and when I got signed to More Music, and that's 20 years ago.
Yeah.
There was, the scene down there was just flourishing. I mean, there was nothing in Denmark that could compare to that. I mean, there was so many musicians and label nights, and I remember like coming down there, and I think the first time I was in Berlin was when I was mastering my first album for More Music over at Dub Plates, the place where Stefan Bethke and Bashard Becker were working back then. Really cool place. And we'd go out a lot. And just like a normal Tuesday or Wednesday, you'd go to a club and you'd see like Stefan Bethke DJing, or or there would be like a city center offices night or something like that. Like really cool stuff taking place all the time. So yeah, that was really exciting.
Wow.
Denmark is like such a, compared to Berlin, Denmark is such a kind of like, it's just a small place, you know. We never had a scene like that.
Yeah.
But Berlin, like 20 years ago, that was like really mind blowing for me.
Yeah, I never, I never, I never been in Berlin, and I was planning on going last year and this year, but you know, hopefully I can go this year. Hopefully things will open up, and then I can go there. My family ancestor uh, came from Munich,
Mm.
so I was born in Chile and in South America, and in 1880 was a big migration of German families moving to the south of Chile.
Yeah.
And so that's what I was born there, and I have gone several times to Munich to research the archive and then find the ancestor and family and grave. It's very interesting stuff, man.
Yeah,
But
I could
but
imagine.
but definitely I want to go and Berlin, because there are so many record shops, man. It's unbelievable for the picture and the documentary I have seen. There's a lot of very good music there, man.
I haven't like, it's been a while since I've been going to shows and stuff in Berlin. Now I bring the family and we just hang out in Berlin and you know,
Yeah.
enjoy the food and the record shops and stuff like that. But I'm sure there's still like a really flourishing scene like there was 20 years ago or 40 years ago or 50 years ago.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And the same in London. You know, it's a lot of very good venues and very good artists. And well, in every country there's good. You know, there's good music and bad music everywhere, man. You know, from here to China. So you need to listen. Another tune that I really like was Wireless Memories.
Oh yeah, also from the first album.
Yeah, that's very good too, man.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's Ulrich's favorite from that album, and yeah, maybe mine as well. I think that's another one that was actually sort of written by me and produced by Ulrich.
Yeah.
Which is quite different from the way we're working now. It's much more like collaborative throughout the entire process. But back then there was quite a few tracks that, you know, I'd bring my guitar and I'd play something, and Ulrich he'd built a track around it with like beats and pianos and synthesizers, and but the basic structure would be done by me. I think that was quite typical for that first record.
I get you. That was very good. Another one is called Amaris.
Yeah.
So
that's the opening track from Passage.
Yeah, that's a very good. There's so
thanks.
many, man. You know, there's so many stuff. Man. Another one that I like is Faint Light in the Distance.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's very typical of the new album, because that's like a really collaborative effort throughout the entire process. And that was like one of the tracks where we would sit down and we'd try to like search for a mood or something. Like we'd just improvise a little bit and see if we could come up with some sort of like an interesting harmonic soundscape, and we'd start building from that. Like an Ulrich, he built the synthesizer sequence, and I play guitar on top of that. So I think the new album, that was like a really truly collaborative effort in every part of the process. Yeah. And I think you can hear that. I think it's almost like we found our sound with this one. Like with the first two records, especially the first one, that'd be a little bit of like, okay, let's try to do a really like 80s sounding track, or let's try to do a really psychedelic track, or let's try to do a krautrock track. And you know, we'd have a bit of fun, like exploring styles and exploring sounds. But I think with the new one, we really found our own sound, which is not like, you know, it's not us having fun in different styles. It's really a collaborative effort, and it's really an album where we found, you know, our own style.
No, it's very, very good. It seems to me that the two of you get along very, you know, because you have done what, 3 albums now. You guys get along very well. Yeah, it's a good chemistry, and you know, and you guys go back and forth, and you know, that's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Yeah, and I think especially with the new album, I think we really found like a nice chemistry, and you know, sometimes when I listen to some of our older tracks, I feel like, oh man, I did a lot of stuff. Like I added like lots of guitars to the tracks and stuff like that, and I know Ulrich feels the same way about some of them. Like he put in a lot of different stuff for each track. And with this new record, I think both of us are just doing just enough. We're not doing too much, and sort of like leaving space for each other and leaving space in the music for the music really to breathe. And
Yeah.
and yeah, it's kind of more restrained. And I think we found a better balance somehow with this one.
Yeah.
So it also works, like I think it plays out really nicely as an album. Like from the moment you press play on the first track to the last one, I think it just really works as an album.
Yeah, no, you guys get along very well, man. So what are your plans for the near future? You're doing a lot of stuff. You're always releasing new stuff. Are you a producer? You're an engineer at home, helping other people, and then you go back to your computer, and because you are creating more music that you can consume, and then you can produce and you release. You always go back to, man, I remember I did that track 4 years ago, 3 years ago. Where is it? And you say, I don't like it. Put it back, and then it's another one. Oh, I like some of it. I will change a little bit, back in more of this, more of that, and then put it together.
It's different with my own stuff. I always have ideas lying around. So when I'm not too busy, like working on other people's stuff or like doing label work, I go back to those ideas. There's always something waiting for me when I come down here in the studio.
So you're never bored. You always have stuff to do.
Oh no. Because I'm also running the label who releases this stuff, and there's always a bit of office work and emails and packages that need shipping and stuff like that. So it's not like I'm in the studio all the time. I'm in the studio like maybe 3 days a week or so, and the rest of the time I'm spending like doing more boring office work.
How many musicians are in the regular labels? You guys do okay?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, Azure Vista is still quite a small record label. I think the next one is gonna be album number 11, so it's not like super productive. I have another record label as well, El Paraíso Records, which is more focused on psychedelia and jazz and stuff like that. That's me and another guy running that, and we're doing okay. We're certainly doing okay, I think.
Yeah, I need to check that out. And so you mentioned you don't tour that much, but I'm quite sure they gotta be like in Denmark. Are there like a small venues or that or I don't know, a restaurant, but not a restaurant, but like a big coffee shop or any kind of venues like that they like to play like an electronic music in the background or stuff like that. You enjoy that kind of stuff? I mean, because or you are more than a studio guy. You don't like to do be in a festival or
oh yeah,
small theater.
I do love it. Yeah, I would love to get out more actually. What I really don't like about touring is all the traveling and stuff. Like I love playing shows, especially if it's like a one-off. If I fly to London and do a show and fly back home, I really love that. I love playing shows in Denmark as well.
Yeah.
But what I don't like is like being on the road for like 3 or 4 weeks and stuff like that. I think
where you go to a city, you do a show, it's hard to fall asleep, then you need to wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning, catch a bus or catch a flight,
exactly.
and the next city, and then it's you don't sleep well, you don't eat well, you miss the family, and
Exactly. You know, when I was 20, I mean, that stuff was fun, and you know, all the free beer and whatever. But you know, now I have a family, I have 2 kids as well, and
and your wife will divorce you.
yeah. Yeah. But you
So,
know,
yeah, so
it's difficult because I do think that stuff is quite fun to a degree, but it's also, it can be very soul-sucking, and maybe you don't make as much money on it as you'd think. Sometimes maybe for some people, but you know, it can be a hellhole, like going down that road.
yeah. Well, you do better doing what you're doing right now. Doing 5-10 shows a year, every 2 months or whatever.
Yeah,
And then you
exactly.
have your recording stuff, the record label, and releasing stuff, getting a
You
paycheck
never, you
from
never get
last
tired
time.
of it. I
Huh?
think that's, you never get tired of it because there's always so much variation. And yeah, if I'm working on a record and I'm really spending week after week on that record, I always find it quite liberating to do something completely different afterwards. Like maybe do some, you know, office work or whatever, or prepare a live show or do some mastering, stuff like that. Um, yeah, I really enjoy having a bit of variation in what I do. If I was touring like
You
throughout the
couldn't you
entire
couldn't do
year,
that. Yeah.
that would kill me. So,
Yeah, gotcha. So what kind of music do you listen to nowadays when you're not your stuff or not Ulrich? What kind of music do you at home you listen to? And
oh, I listen to so much different stuff. You know, you said you like a wide range of music.
yeah.
It's the same for me. I really do appreciate like really weird esoteric music, but I sometimes I really enjoy listening to pop music as well. And,
Well,
um, yeah.
do you have like a big CD and vinyl collection at home? And
Oh yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I buy a lot of stuff. Like it's weird. Like when I'm at home and I'm doing office work and I'm you know, preparing packages and mailing out records. Like 90% of the time, I'm gonna be listening to Brazilian music from the 60s and 70s.
really,
Yeah, like bossa nova
bossa nova, of course. Yeah.
and jazz music. So that's my really big thing. And
You know who is Carlos Jubin?
he's my one of my all-time favorites.
Oh, he's
I love his work.
yeah. Now
That-
Nito Nascimento, Carlos Jubin, George Gilberto.
exactly.
Yeah, it's a lot of
So
it.
much good stuff. I love just relaxing to that kind of stuff, and also because it's a bit different from what I work on myself. So I just listen to it and I totally relax. So, but I like so much different music, you know. Like this morning when I came down here to the studio, I listened to a Tool record that came out 20 years ago, Lateralis, and that was a really big album for me when I was in my teens, and it still blows my mind. Just like
Some
the musicianship and all these like the sort of labyrinth winding songwriting of the whole record. I think it's still totally amazing. So that's when I came down here this morning and I really had to wake up. I listened to a bit of Tool.
yeah,
I still think that's a great band.
yeah, no, and many albums like I don't know from early stuff from Pink Floyd or Peter Frampton, comes alive, and there are albums that are I don't know Neil Diamond live. There are albums that are I don't know like 4 years old and still for me I enjoy them very much, man. Like some albums I will listen up forever. Some
Yeah,
of the early stuff from Tangerine Dream also. I like
yeah,
it. The later stuff became too commercial. The quality wasn't there, but the early stuff, Tangerine Dream was pretty good. Or Michael Honing, or I don't know, the guy from Nashville Temple, and you know, there's a lot of very good music out there, man.
Yeah, and yeah,
Any,
like I said, I really
any,
appreciate a wide range of stuff.
yeah.
So mm.
Any of your kids are going to be musician or no? They're
Oh,
learning the
I
keyboard,
hope not.
or they will go to school, go to college, and
I hope they'll get into software programming, or I don't know, architecture, something they
no,
can make money on. No, I don't know. No,
they don't.
my
Huh?
son, he's 9 years old, but my daughter, she's only 3, so
They're very
yeah,
young.
she enjoys music a lot, so she might turn
Is,
into.
is your son like to play soccer? There are so many soccer players, good band, and they're in Europe.
Oh no, he's not into that. No.
Yeah, or study computer science. That's what I do for a living. It's a very good job. It's computer science. You have a job for life. That's the thing. Well paying. At least here in the United States, very well paying jobs, and you do well. And for me, I need money coming in so I can go and see shows.
Yeah.
They're expensive. See the New Order or Dead Can Dance or whatever. Fleetwood Mac, and I need a good paycheck coming in every 2 weeks. So I
So what do
can
you do?
keep on buying music. Yeah.
So what do you do for a living?
I'm a computer engineer.
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
That's a very good job. Tell everybody, man. Study computer science. A very well job.
Yeah, I
And
could
if you,
imagine that's you could computer engineers, they're probably not going to be unemployed in the near future. So
no, we have a job for life.
yeah.
And if you can complement that with other set of skills, the more value, more education that you receive, the more valuable you are, and you do well.
Yeah.
Some people study computer science and architecture. Some people study computer science and law, and they look at the legal aspect of the computer. There's very good combination, and so you always have to have 2 or 3 things on your hand.
Yeah.
If something doesn't work, you go to the other and the other, but it's a lot of work in computer science here. So I'm very lucky, man. So I have another 2 questions. So where our listener can buy your music, feel free to mention your record label and producer, and then feel free to mention everything.
You can check out, Azure Vista Records, my record label for ambient music and the electronic side of things. I have a Bandcamp for that. You can check it out. There's a few artists by now, and yeah, we're just preparing the 12th album, I think, at the moment. That's going to be for like a late summer, early fall release. We have artists like, of course, Ulrich, both his project with me, but also the music he's done with Torsten Questioning. I put out on that label. There's an American band called Dawn Chorus and the Infallible Sea. Really amazing, like ambient music. There's another American band called Auburn, Lull, one of my personal all-time favorite bands. Absolutely amazing band, like a mixture of ambient music and shoegaze and space rock. Yeah. Amazing band. So yeah, and
that all in Azure Vista.
Yeah. And also I have another project with a guy from Michigan, Jason Kolb. We have a duo called the Billow Observatory, which is a little bit similar to the stuff that I do on my own and with Ulrich, but it's slightly more ambient. So it's very minimal. And we also have a new album coming out in, I think it's going to be September as well.
Gotcha. Have you been here in the United States? You like it here?
In the United States?
Yeah, you like it?
Oh, I love it. I haven't been there in a few years. I remember like coming over, like, when was that? 2004. I think that was like the first time I spent time in the US, and I spent a couple of months in California, and really fell in love with that place. I spent a lot of time because I was on a record label back then called Dollar Records, and they were situated in like San Diego County,
Yeah.
out in the countryside, which is it's still like one of my favorite places in the world.
Yeah.
Like that whole stretch of coastline.
Yeah.
I think it's like, is it 100 miles, 150 miles, like all the way down to the Mexican border, and you got these beautiful small cities, and you got the beautiful coastline, great food, and great people.
Yeah, the California is beautiful, man. You don't have to deal with, with the cold much, or with the snow or the cold weather. You guys, where you are, man, in Norway and Denmark, it's Sweden, it gets tough during the winter, right?
It gets cold and it gets dark, and so Southern California is kind of like just kind of like a weird magical place for a Scandinavian, like when you set foot there, like the scenery and the weather and the people and the food. So I've been in love with that place for almost 2 decades. But I do love, like, a few years ago I spent some time in Michigan. That's when we're working on the last Billow Observatory album, and that's beautiful as well. I really like that place. I mean, Detroit is such an interesting place, and I really enjoyed my time there. But that's like for entirely different reasons that I love San Diego for. So.
Well, if you ever come with the family or play here in where I live, close to Washington D.C., it's a very nice area as well. Let me know, man.
I really want to see Washington as well. That's one place nice. I've never been. So yeah, that would be interesting.
Yeah, I like 20 minutes from Washington D.C. and then with the area where I live, I'm in the border with Washington D.C. and half an hour from Maryland. So because I live in Northern Virginia, and every band comes to this area. That's what I'm able to see. I don't know, 20, 30 shows a year. Every band comes here. All the good names play here. So that's great. There are so many good venues, every artist that I mentioned, I have seen there. Cool. Genesis now, that is going to be on tour in the fall. They're playing here a couple of gigs, and
there's still so many places in the US that I want to see. So I'm definitely gonna bring the family there. Like my son, he's 9 now, and he really wants to see like some of those places, like New York, of course, and LA, and there's still so many places that I want to see that I never seen, and New England, just to mention one of them.
Yeah, Boston is very nice too.
Oh yeah, I'd love to. Yeah.
Well, it was very nice talking to you, Jonas. Hopefully, we'll have another get together with Ulrich, and let me know if you're coming here to the United States. And then I'm hoping to. Well, I don't know now with the pandemic, but I was planning on going and see another very good band that I like from Norway called Hike as a Kite. I don't know if you know them.
No.
Oh, they're very good. I will send you the link for some stuff if you like to listen to, and I will send you links to all the radios where I played, where I had the interviews and the music I play. It's very good quality. I'm very particular in the music that I upload to the radio, and as I say, they're all free. It's very good music, man. So give it a try. Recommend it. Whatever, they're all free, 24 hours a day. No advertising, no commercial, nothing. I pay for everything.
Great, that's great. Yeah, and I hope Ulrich gets back to us, and then
we can do a follow up. And if I go to Norway, definitely I will send you an email, and then we can get together for dinner or something. It will be nice.
Sure. Yeah, I would love to.
You're a very good person.
Fingers crossed it will work out.
Yeah, I hope it works out and the pandemic goes away, man. Good luck with your career, Jonas, and I will send you a follow-up interview because I'm very interested in getting some of the CDs, autograph, and that kind of stuff. So.
Sure, no problem.
That was very nice talking to you, Jonas. Have a great day, man. I hope
you too.
The virus go away, man.
Have a great one.
Man. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you. No problem, man.